By 1945, the sheer scale of the destruction across the entire continent of Europe was absolute and total. When Allied troops reached the concentration camps, they found evidence of a crime so vast it redefined human cruelty. Yet, throughout the war, British and Australian officials had been remarkably silent about the systematic extermination of the Jews. They weren't ignoring the facts, they were afraid of them. They feared if they spoke out, the public would dismiss the reports as state-sponsored fiction. This hesitation was the result of a single campaign launched 25 years earlier, a campaign that mobilized millions of volunteers but destroyed the government's credibility for a generation. In 1914, the First World War transformed into a resource-heavy conflict that drained national treasuries and required a constant stream of volunteer recruits. Early government appeals focused on international law, specifically Germany's violation of a treaty guaranteeing Belgian neutrality, but abstract arguments over a scrap of paper did little to inspire men to risk their lives in a trench. The British and Australian empires needed human capital on a scale never seen before. Leaders realized that factual appeals were ineffective. To sustain the war effort, they needed to hack the public psychology using a visceral, emotional weapon. This strategic pivot reframed a political border dispute as a moral crusade for civilization. There was a factual baseline for this shift. During the invasion of neutral Belgium, German troops executed thousands of civilians and burned historical libraries. Refugees fled toward Britain and its colonies, carrying stories of real displacement and vulnerability. To document these crimes, the British government commissioned a formal committee to take legal depositions from these survivors. They chose Lord James Bryce to lead the inquiry. He was a distinguished scholar and former ambassador, selected specifically to ensure the report carried the weight of authority. The committee aimed for a rigorous standard of evidence, the kind that would hold up in British or American courts. This attempt to record war crimes inadvertently provided the raw data for a massive propaganda engine. The Bryce report was handed over to the secret War Propaganda Bureau at Wellington House and to private publishers eager for sensational content. Propagandists stripped away the dry legal tone. They replaced cautious findings with headings like "Methods of Savages" and cherry-picked the most graphic stories to ensure maximum emotional impact. From these mutated accounts emerged the most famous myth of the war: a German soldier spearing a toddler with a bayonet while his comrades sang. These stories were exported globally. Australian artists merged the bayoneted child with depictions of poison gas and crucified peasants, creating a chaotic morass of atrocities designed to terrify. The campaign succeeded. It dehumanized the enemy, united the working classes, and drove a surge in volunteer enlistments across the empire. In the short term, this tactical masterpiece saved the Allied war effort, but it also crossed an ethical point of no return. After the war, the hangover set in. As the public looked back, they realized that while real crimes occurred, the most horrific stories that drove them to fight were gross exaggerations. In the 1920s, anti-propagandists like Arthur Ponsonby published best-selling takedowns of the government's lies, fueling a wave of global resentment. The working class realized their emotions had been manipulated to sustain the slaughter in the trenches. This backlash permanently altered the culture. Propaganda was no longer a neutral term for communication. It became synonymous with state-sponsored deception. By blurring the lines between legal evidence and psychological hacking, the state won the war but destroyed its own credibility. In the 1930s, the rising Nazi Party recognized and weaponized this specific cynicism. Joseph Goebbels systematically reminded the world of the Allies' WWI baby on a bayonet stories. This counter tactic was designed to discredit any incoming reports of real Nazi crimes. This boomerang effect worked. Allied governments, terrified of being seen as crying wolf again, hesitated to report on the Holocaust. Their silence provided cover for real atrocities. Manufacturing outrage may win an immediate battle, but sacrificing the truth for a temporary advantage destroys the public trust required to fight the battles of the future.